Welcome, Amber.
Janelle, thank you so much for that warm welcome. I sincerely appreciate it. I don't know if anyone else here can totally relate to it's a little more difficult to be on top of it at home. Can anyone else relate to that at all? Raise your hands. Some of you, I'm seeing some head nods. Okay, great. Well, hi everyone. My name is Amber Lethem, as Janelle mentioned, and today we are going to do some fun things. But before we dive in, as Janelle mentioned earlier, this is going to be a much more engaging workshop than probably most of your other Zoom meetings. And so here's where I'm going to even open challenge you all, like an open challenge. Go on ahead and turn on your video cameras, go ahead and unmute yourselves. All right. I want everyone to say hi to everybody real quick. Everyone say hi to each other. Seriously, unmute, say hi. How's everything going? A quick greeting.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Awesome.
Hello.
So first things first, please grab a pen and then also something to write with, because we're going to be taking some notes. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 to 10 seconds. Go ahead and grab a pen and something to write with. Okay, perfect. Now, for our first exercise, what I would love for each and everyone to do is please open your chat box. So if you are in front of your Zoom, if you're in front of your cameras, you should be able to see that there's a chat. Does everyone see that? All right. So here are the instructions. Don't hit send. What I would like for you to do is open the chat box, and then I would like for you to type 1 to 3 words of something that you are grateful for. 1 to 3 words of something that you are grateful for. And I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do that. And hold it. Don't press send yet. Just type in 1 to 3 words of something or someone that you are grateful for. Okay, don't click send yet. Don't click send. Everyone have that in there. Just type it right in the box. Leave it hanging in the box. All right. 4, 3. All right, so here's what you're gonna do. Go on ahead and give me a wave. Give me a wave. All right, now point up your pointer finger. Now on 3, we're gonna click the send button. 1, 2, 3, click enter. Bloop. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. Look at all the things that we're grateful for today. I'm seeing things like health. I see sunshine. What's the question, Eva? What is it that you're thankful for? Go ahead and type in something you're thankful for. I'm seeing wife and families, nature, relationships, God. Oh my goodness. Gosh, guys, what responses? Thank you so much for answering. So what was the point of that exercise? The point of that exercise was to get you engaged, to get you guys smiling, and to get you guys thinking about something positive. One of the biggest things that I believe we've all encountered is tribulation and discourse and unrest. Anyone here can totally relate to being in negative energy space and things are just not going quite as well as we'd like to. Yeah? So that's the point of this exercise, was to get ourselves on the right track. Now, we have 3 objectives for our meeting today. The first objective is to give you guys some clarity on your goals and why these goals are important to you. And the reason that we're starting off with that clarity is because we understand that these times are really difficult. And so we need to get ourselves into better headspaces and to have some fresh ideas that are going to help us build momentum into the future. So that's objective number 1. The second objective is to provide some key reminders, some key refreshers on ideas, on principles and concepts that you were all already familiar with, but maybe we just need to be bringing them back into our businesses or bringing them back into our families and our day-to-day. So that's the second objective, is to recover some of those things, to surface all of that up. And then the third objective is to share a little bit about my coaching opportunity. And how that whole works is I'm going to cover a ton of information today. For some of you, you're going to say to yourself, man, I could really use some one-on-one business, sales, and leadership coaching. If you fall into that category, I'll provide you a link where you can schedule a one-on-one with me after today's meeting. And for some of you in the meeting, it's just not going to be a fit, and that's perfectly okay too. We're going to walk out of here feeling refreshed, excited, and really clear to how we're going to hit our goals moving forward. Does that sound like a good plan, gang?
Yes.
Yes? Am I seeing nods? Am I seeing some thumbs up? Everyone give a thumbs up if you're okay with that plan. Is there anything else you need me to cover today besides those 3 things? If there is, you're able to go on ahead and type that to me in our chat box. But besides that, I think we're good to go. Does that sound good, Janelle?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see, I'm going to make sure everyone can see this. Let's see. All right, can everyone see confidence during COVID presentation? Can everyone see that? Give me a thumbs up if you see it. All righty. So as I mentioned earlier, these are the 3 objectives that we're going to cover. The first objective is we're going to talk about your goals. The second, controlling the controllables and reviewing the things you already know. And then third, talking about coaching. So in order to get started, and in order to start making some progress, we first need to identify what is your target? What are your goals? So in the chat box, I'm going to be giving you a quick link. And in that link, what I would like for you to do is click it. And then I'm going to give you 30 seconds to write down one of your goals. Okay, so in the chat box, please open it up. You'll see here in a second. Let's see if I can put this in the chat box, meeting chat box. Does everyone see it? No, hold on. Where's that chat box go? Please check the chat box. Let's see. Oh goodness, it's not doing it now. How do I escape? Oh, there we go. Wait. Chat. There we go. All right, here we go. So here's the chat. Go ahead and click the link. And I would like for you to go ahead and write down one of your goals. I'll give you 30 seconds to write it down. Click the link and type in your goal. So in the chat box, you see that there's a link? Yeah. All right. Oh. I'm so sorry. I think I put in the wrong chat. Organize your time. I put in the wrong question. Whoops. I apologize, team. I put in the wrong question. This is the question at hand. There you go. Let's present from there. Does everyone see that goal? So what goal are you pursuing?
Yep.
Okay, let's type in there. So what goal are you pursuing? Now, the reason I'm having you write down a goal is because first and foremost, we need to identify where we want to go. And then the next step after that is we're going to talk about where we're at in relationship to those goals. Anyone here start 2020 with goals in mind? Raise your hand if you did. Okay. How many of you, even despite all the pandemonium, even despite all of the crazy circumstances that have been thrown your way, are still very much on your way to hitting your goals? Give me a high five, give me a hand wave if you're still pursuing those goals. Okay. How many of you are not really where you want to be in relationship to your goals? You feel like, man, I'm not exactly where I want to be. I'm not hitting the goals. The circumstances totally got, like, they built up against me. Things have been crazy. Go ahead and raise your hand if you're in that boat. Okay. How many of you, regardless of where you're at in relationship to your goals, just feel like you can be doing better, period? Anyone here feel like you could just be doing well, period? Okay, well, I fall into that category. Regardless of where I'm at in relationship to my goals, I always feel like I could do a little bit better. Now, the goals we're seeing here, does everyone see these? Man, I'm seeing some really good stuff. I'm seeing organize my time. I'm seeing a spouse-only vacation to graduate this fall. Yes, I hear some people are here from KCC. Welcome. Optimize gathering of data, run a half marathon, make better finances, new business opportunities, be the best salesperson you can be. Gosh, guys, these are amazing. These are such amazing goals. Thank you so much for sharing them. Now, we can also agree that times have been nuts, right? Things have been absolutely crazy this year. And one of the biggest ways that we can overcome our obstacles is by getting clear on our why. Now, I can imagine with all the goals that are getting listed here, there's some pretty powerful reasons to why we want to accomplish them. Now, as we start to dig into that, before we really take a second to anchor into our why, we also need to be aware of our obstacles. So my next question to you is going to be this question right here. And that next question is what are your obstacles in pursuing the goals that you've just listed? Okay, so that's the next one, is what is the goal? What are the obstacles that are in your way, or the things that you need to overcome in order to hit those goals? So now I'd like for you to take a second and write one of the obstacles that you need to overcome in order to, someone mentioned the spouse vacation. What obstacle do you need to overcome? Someone mentioned they wanted to make better financial decisions. What obstacle do you need to overcome there? Is it yourself? Is it your emotions? Is it what's happening in the world? Is it politics? Is it just the discord amongst people in your relationships? Is it your physical well-being? I saw someone said that they wanted to run a half marathon. What obstacles do you need to overcome in order to hit your goals? So I want to give you guys another minute to write down the obstacles that are in your way or that you need to overcome. I'm seeing some really good obstacles here, guys. I'm seeing time, I'm seeing finances, I'm seeing homeschooling and working, health issues. Go ahead. These are great, guys. What other obstacles? What other obstacles do we need to overcome? Dave Livingston wrote, people are worried. They need to hear from us. Time starved, the pandemic. Good job, guys. Lack of human resources. Prioritization. Guys, these obstacles are really good. No self-motivation. Guys, this is amazing. Wow, look at all these answers coming up. You guys are doing such a great job. Online school, ability for face-to-face, gosh. Okay, so one of the things that we mentioned earlier is that we're going to start with why. One of my clients, his name is Mark Kimoto, he works over at American Savings Bank. And one of the things he brought to the table was, he said one day, Amber, I just don't know if anyone and everyone can be motivated. I mean, there's some people that I know on my team who are really go-getters, who are the top producers, and they'll always be the top producers simply because they are driven. And then there are those who are just not. Can anyone relate to this? Can anyone relate to the moments where you have been motivated and then the moments where you're just not, regardless of how much someone dangles a carrot or maybe has that stick out? Can anyone relate to that at all?
Mm-hmm.
So the answer that we came up to, one of the biggest conclusions that we came up with that I really landed on with Mark, is I said, Mark, anyone can be moved to action if they have a big enough why. Anyone can be moved to action if we have a big enough why. And so circling back, getting clear on your why. Our why and the law at hand is that our grit and the level of perseverance that we will have in the pursuit of our goals is directly proportional to how emotionally invested, to how clear our why or our purpose is. I'll say that one more time. The strength of your grit and your perseverance is directly proportional to the clarity of your why, to the depth of your vision and emotional conviction. Now, the reason that we identified your goal and the reason I had you write down a few of the obstacles in your way is because in this next exercise, we're going to talk about your why, or in this case, I'm going to have you write out your emotional why. Now, what is an emotional why? Like, what is this? Why do we even start with this? And the biggest reason that we do, guys, is because we all are facing circumstances that we've never been before. And our why, it needs to be bigger than our feelings. It needs to be bigger than our excuses. Let me give you a quick example. So as Janelle mentioned earlier, I did this crazy summer job where I knocked on over 30,000 cold doors. Now, anyone here have teenagers? Anyone here have teenagers? Raise your hand if you have teenagers. Okay. Any of you maybe are a teenager or have been a teenager yourself? Raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing some smiles. You're like, yep, Amber, that used to be me. Right. So in college, I was 19 years old and someone approached me and they said, Amber, do you want to knock on doors 80 hours a week, straight commission in a city and state that you've never been to before, sacrifice an entire summer in Honolulu, Hawaii with friends and family, only to maybe kind of sort of make some money? Anyone here would say, absolutely, sign me up for that, Amber? 80 hours a week, straight commission, city and state I'd never been to before. Count me in. No, I didn't think so. Right. And so I signed up for it. I said, you know what? It's the hardest thing I can do. Have at it. Like, I'm going to go after it. So before I got to my sales field that summer, which is in Michigan, I had a discussion with my manager, and she said, you know, Amber, I know one of your biggest motivators this year is money. And the reason it is because you need to pay your way through college. And I said, yes, absolutely. This is exactly why I'm giving up in a summer in Hawaii, is so I can make money to go to school. And she said, well, you know, Amber, here's what's going to happen is you're going to face a lot of rejection. You're going to have a lot of storms. Your car may break down. And she went through all the different circumstances and all the different obstacles I could face. And she told me, she said, Amber, you need to be clear on why you're committed. You need to have a strong enough anchor that even when everything has fallen apart, that you will stay out there no matter what, that you will stay committed. And she emphasized, she said, now, Amber, this isn't I'm going to be out there and kind of sort of go through the motions and knock on doors and excuse my French, but half-ass it, right? She said, you need to have an anchor. You need to have something that's going to push you to excellence, even when you don't feel like it. So I took some time. I evaluated all my obstacles. And here is what I came up with. And this might actually, I might get a little emotional sharing this with you because it is vulnerable. And my anchor is this. I decided that I was going to be committed to knocking on 30,000 cold doors, 80 hours a week, Monday through Saturday, 7:30 in the morning to 9:45 at night, and be out there all summer long, regardless of the rejection and the thunderstorms and the car breaking down, because my sisters depended on me. And because of the woman I wanted to become in the process. And having a mom who single-handedly raised the three of us, my two sisters and I, we didn't come from very much. And so I thought to myself, you know, if I can show my sisters that I can stay committed to something this difficult, and I can lead by example, and be strong through this process, then I know it would mean more to me than any dollar amount I could make. And I know if I refine myself here in the process, that I'm going to have opportunities in the future to do even greater things. So that is one of my emotional whys that kept me out there regardless of how I felt. So with that being said, I want to give you an opportunity. Don't worry, all of the answers are anonymous. So this is really great. But my question to you is, what is your strong why? Now that you've gotten to identify your goals, now you've gotten a chance to look at some of the obstacles you're facing, my question to you is, why is your goal so stinking important to you? Why are you committed to hitting this goal? What is it that's going to help you move over these obstacles and rise above how you feel in a given day, time, or space? So let me go ahead and give you 3 minutes, or sorry, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to time it. And I'd like for you to take the second to either write it down on a piece of paper or to type it in here. Okay? So if you go back to the chat box, you can see that there is a space for you to type your emotional purpose. What is a strong why of yours? Go ahead and take 2 minutes to do so. Wow, look at all of these answers. This is great. Keep them coming, gang. You got another minute and a half going. Go ahead and write them in. These are amazing answers, guys. Oh my goodness. Great answers, gang. To do my personal best. At the end of my life, I want to feel that I have lived a life that brought value to myself and others, to be able to support my family, renewed passion, need to diversity to meeting monthly obligations, to prove to myself that I'm capable of achieving a goal that someone set out. Wow. So good. We got 1 more minute on the clock, gang. Anyone else? Go on ahead. Put them in. Put in your why. Get clear on your why. All right, it's been 2 minutes. Thank you so much for participating. I hope that even in these few minutes alone that you've already gotten a lot out of our session. So far, we've already gotten clear on a goal. We've identified some obstacles, and now we have identified our why. And that why should always remain in front of you. If you haven't done so, if you don't keep sort of things in front of you, I totally recommend that everything that you just typed in here, that you take a second to write that out on a note card, to put it up by your computer, to put it in your car, to put it in your wallet as a constant reminder of your why. Because as Zig Ziglar said, just like motivation, we need it constantly, right? Because showers don't last every day. So you need a shower every day. Keep your motivation, keep your why, keep it fresh out in front of you. Okay? Awesome. Great job, team. We're going to go on ahead and go back and start talking through our why. Okay? So our emotional purpose or strong why is going to need to be greater than our circumstances, our excuses, and our obstacles. You've gotten clear on it. So now that you've identified your strong why, we can talk through your controllables. How are we going to accomplish our goals? Well, here are some mechanisms that we can focus on in the pursuit of our goals. Because here's the thing, is anytime we pursue a goal, we can get discouraged. We can totally fail. And it's really important that we get back up. One of the biggest things that I learned in getting a chance to coach people at Google, as well as Bank of Hawaii, is that companies often emphasize results. The thing about results, though, is you can never control them, whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing, even if you're pursuing a goal like losing weight, you cannot control the results. And so it's really interesting because when companies emphasize that we focus on results, what ends up happening is our emotions go through a roller coaster ride. When we see a victory, when we see the result happen, we get excited. When we don't see the result, we often get discouraged. So one of the biggest things in leading teams that we have found a lot of success in is as you've gotten anchored into your why, you also anchor into your controllables. That helps you to focus and to remain steadfast because all of the circumstances will happen around you, right? We cannot control whether there's a pandemic. We can't control if we get injured. We can't control what one person or someone else does. All that we can control are 3 things. And those 3 things are our activities, our attitude, and how we spend our time. So the activity, our attitude, and how we spend our time. So knowing what your goals are, you've gotten a chance to set a goal. What I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to now type in one activity that you know is going to build momentum in the pursuit of your goal. What is one of the crucial activities that you know you need to do in order to hit your goals? So going back to that link, as I previously mentioned, there's that link. All right, let's see if it'll still loading. All right, there we go. Let's see if it pops up. Oops, being silly. Don't you love technology when it does this? It's my favorite. All right, what momentum building activity? There we go. Going to sleep earlier, calling research, going ahead and take a minute to take a minute to write down one of these activities. Now, as you're typing in an activity that you know you should be doing, here is some food for thought. When I was talking to one of my other coaching clients who leads a mortgage team, we talked through the importance of activities or income producing activities. For some of you, you're in sales, for others, you're in marketing, right? But oftentimes we can get caught up in things like creative avoidance, and it doesn't always feel good. So for instance, in regards to sales, prospecting is to the health of your business as exercise is to the health of your body. Let me say that one more time. Prospecting and the uncomfortable income producing activities, like reaching out to those follow-ups, well, that is to the health of your business as exercise is to the health of your body. Who here like loves and lives and breathes exercise all day, every day? You think to yourself, you know what? I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go for an hour workout and it's going to be grand. Anyone here just like every single day, you're always on fire? No. Okay, maybe some of the time. Anyone here, some of the time you're like, a good workout sounds really good every now and again. Sometimes. Okay, great. So here's what I can tell you is I also struggle with it. Man, even as I'm tying my shoelaces, I don't always feel like going for a run and I don't always feel like working out. But what I do know is it's good for my body. Just like there are some things that you know is good for you, is some things that are going to be great for the accomplishment of your goals, but it's not always comfortable, right? So here we've got some activities. I see reading, research, being consistent, scheduling it, time management, engagement, more contacts, deliver what is promised, write it down, honor your priorities, prospecting, calling, going to sleep. This is great. So another thing I'd love to share, what you already know, right? Here's this principle. The principle is self-discipline is self-love. Self-discipline is self-love. That whole concept is kind of interesting because one would think, well, if you're loving yourself, you're not really disciplining yourself. Well, self-love in this regard is all about the long term and focusing on what we want most over what we want in the moment. I'll say that one more time. Self-discipline is self-love. And by doing so, you are honoring what you want most in this world more than what you want in the moment. So how do we consistently overcome what we want in the moment? How do we overcome how we feel? Well, we start with what, gang? We start with why. What do we start with?
Why?
We start with why. Thank you so much, Paulette. Awesome. All right. So that is it. So what I'd like for you to do is focus on that one activity moving forward. Control the controllables. All right. Oop, just kidding. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk through. So now that you know what activity you need to focus on, we need to talk about your attitude. Who here has seen a fluctuation in their attitude since the beginning of 2020? Okay, go on ahead and open your chat box, and I'd love to hear what is one word that you would describe how your attitude has been since 2020 began. Has it been a roller coaster? Has it been pretty crazy? Has it been all over the wall? Have you been constant and steadfast? Have you been pessimistic? Have you been positive? So go on ahead and type that into the chat box. What's your attitude been like since this whole pandemic has started? I'm seeing, okay, survival mode, looking more and more towards retirement. Go ahead and type it in the chat box. How's your attitude been? So the thing about attitudes is that they're also a controllable. We can't control what's happening around us, but we can control how we feel and what we do with our attitude. More and more important, it's incredibly important that we focus on being positive. Now, what does it mean to have a positive attitude? Oftentimes people equate being positive to being unrealistic or being fluffy or bubbly, something along the lines of, well, this is great. All that's happening in the world is just grand. It's totally fine. Everything is going swimmingly. That's not being positive. That's totally being naive and unrealistic. What a positive problem-solving attitude looks like is, hey, I accept XYZ obstacle. or I accept the fact that this is not fun. I accept the fact that this pandemic is happening and I can't control it, but I will do my best and I will problem solve and get better and I will overcome it. Do you see the difference between what society paints as positive versus a top producer's mentality on being positive? The biggest difference in that, gang, is that you focus and you accept reality first and foremost, and then you figure out how you're going to overcome it. And how we're going to overcome it is we start with what, gang? We start with our
Why?
We start with our why. We start with our purpose. Anytime we lose focus, anytime we get discouraged, how we're going to realign our attitude is we go back to our why and why it's really important. You guys mentioned things like family, friends, goals. Go back to that space of what makes you come alive again. And then with that, acknowledge the obstacle. Acknowledge the obstacle for what it is. It's not that big of a deal. It's only as big of a deal as you make it to be, right? Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's simple. But what I am saying is you're able to identify it. And I'm also saying that with enough tenacity and clarity, you are so capable of being a problem solver. Now, here are a couple other ideas to manage your attitude and give you guys some tools to work on your attitude. The most important things that you'll ever say are the words that you'll say to yourself. This is from Dr. Shad Hemstetler. He wrote the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. Has anyone ever read that book before? Some of you? No? Okay, well, it's a book I would recommend. I'll put it up at the very last slide. But what you say to yourself now more than ever is crucial. Because what we also understand is we're getting bombarded by a whole slew of news and of media and of opinions, right? And we're home alone a lot more. We're not around our colleagues for encouragement. We're not around our mentors. We're not around our best friends all the time. Those of you who are breaking the rules, I won't tell anybody. But you all know what I'm talking about in regards to the importance of what you're saying to yourself. And it's not just what you're saying, it's also how you're saying it. Are you speaking to yourself like a bully, like a really tough NFL coach? Are you criticizing yourself? Or are you speaking to yourself like your best friend? Are you talking to yourself like you are your own buddy? How you say things to yourself is just as important as what you're saying to yourself. So here's one thing that I do as a fun idea. I received, or actually I got this from the book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Has anyone ever read the book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod? Some of you, maybe, kind of, sort of. Okay, so in the book, he presents an acronym called SAVERS. And my commitment in this time of quarantine, again, it's hard, just like we're all in this together. We're all going through hardships together. But one thing I made the commitment to do is to get my head and my heart right, no matter what, before I begin the day. That means not going on my phone and having some fun screen time. What it means is getting anchored and starting with my what, gang. We start our day, we start with our what?
Why?
We start with our why. Thank you, Becky. We start with our why and our purpose. And so this is one of the tools I use to help ground myself back into my purpose and to get my head and my heart in the right space. This routine, SAVERS, here's the acronym and what it means. So SAVERS, S stands for silent, so that's meditation. A is affirmations and the things I speak over myself. Third is visualization, so picturing, because our mind thinks in pictures. E is for exercise, getting that heart, that body pumping, that heart pumping, that body moving. R is reading. No, not the news. Reading something that feeds my soul, reading something positive, reading something enlightening, whether it's the Bible or reading something from Oprah Winfrey's magazine or an inspirational quote, whatever it is that gets you excited. And then lastly is to scribe and to write down. In this case, I write down my focus for the day and the things I'm in pursuit of. Okay, so you can also see this is what's on my vision board. You can see exactly what it does. So that's one tool I offer you to get your head and your heart in the right space. Again, the entire focus is you starting back with your purpose. Okay, so that's how I get my attitude. I'd love to hear on a separate thread sometime how you get your attitude into check when you aren't feeling like your best. Okay, so we've got an activity, we've got an hours attitude, and the last thing we're going to talk through is your time management and your hours and how you manage your time. How do you guys manage your time? Do you guys take the opportunity to plan out your entire week? Or are you one of those who kind of flies by the seat of your pants? Maybe you're one of those who rolls out of bed 2 minutes before a Zoom meeting and you're like putting things together quickly. You put on just your top, your bottom's not, and you're like, all right, I'm ready for the day. Anyone can relate to some of those? Okay, well, I'll admit it. Like, I'm totally human, just like everyone else is. And I've totally had times like that as well. Because we're all human, right? We're all in this kind of together. So knowing that I'm irrevocably human, just like you guys, in the pursuit of getting better every single day, I'd love for us to take a second to evaluate how we're currently managing our time, especially in quarantine, especially with what's happening in the world. So go back to the chat box, and I'd like for you to go on ahead and open up that link. We'll do it one more time. Janelle, thank you so much for putting that link in for all of us. I appreciate it. Perfect. So that's the link. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back. Go back for us. And then we're going to do, it's really fun because it's a scale, and you'll get to see what your scale is. And so here is rate your time management. All right, so go on ahead and take 1 minute to evaluate your time management from these scales. So the first thing is, how proactive are you at planning your schedule? Do you take the time on Sunday to organize how you're gonna run your week? Do you include your travel time, when you're going to the, I guess not to the gym, but when you're gonna go and work out, when you're gonna have a lunch break? Do you guys see the time, rate your time management? Does everyone see that? Okay, great. The second is action. Do you actually execute what's on your schedule? Adjustment. How much tact do you have if something comes up and you weren't ready for it? Integrity. If you put it on your calendar, you honor it. Creative avoidance. Sometimes I'll put prospecting, and then other times the laundry will come up right when I should be prospecting. Or maybe I need to give myself a nice manicure right when I'm supposed to be working on a sales presentation. So those are the 5 criteria. Go on ahead and take a minute or two to answer the scales. Okay. I'll give you 2 minutes, and when it hits 1:44, we will evaluate the results. All right. Thanks for your integrity, gang. I really appreciate it. All right, I'll give you guys another 30 seconds. I'm seeing some more results pop in here. All right. Down to the wire. Thank goodness for calendars and alerts, Paulette. I love it. And so good. Yeah. Dave Livingston, I have a detailed calendar, but I scheduled downtime as well. Awesome. I know I have to do the same thing. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen, right? Awesome. I'm seeing some really great answers, gang. Thank you so much for your honesty and for your integrity, because we can only figure out where we're going to go once we know where we're also at, right? So good. So in the pursuit of managing your time, this is also a crucial thing in getting to your goal, because it isn't just the activity, it's not just the attitude, but this is a proactive place where you get the opportunity to orchestrate, your levels of sustainability or consistency. This is where you get to plop in strategically when you're going to prospect, or in this case for you students, when you're going to study. It's also just as important for you to take time to organize when you're going to rest. One of the biggest things that we're hearing about right now is there are a lot of industries that are totally overworked, right? And so going back to one of the initial principles I talked about is giving yourself the emotional permission to be present. If we don't take time to rest, if we forget to take time for ourselves to refill our cup, we're not able to serve people to the best of our abilities. And so just as crucial as it is for you to organize your morning routine, to organize how you're going to spend your day, you also need to make sure that you're organizing when you're going to spend time with your family. When you're going to spend time with your family. Here is an example of an ideal calendar. And what an ideal calendar is it's a target of my most productive week. But here's the thing, is unless we take the time to identify what our most productive week can look like, we're never going to live it. Now, this ideal calendar isn't my calendar for every stinking week, right? But it's the general target. And then every week it kind of shifts. But the whole concept of the ideal calendar is you get to identify what your most productive and livable work week is. How many of you here have an ideal schedule? How many of you have an ideal calendar of what your perfect week looks like? Does anyone have one of those yet? No.
Nope.
Okay, great. Well, that's a good reason for you to sign up and then to have a coaching session with me, is because we get to like create and outline what your most ideal work week can look like after you've taken time to identify your goals, lock down on your obstacles, and then anchor in on your why to move you over through those obstacles. Okay. So here's some 4 strategies in regards to managing your time more effectively as we all continue to blow through this pandemic, whether we're working inside our homes or we're going to the office or finally meeting with people, right? Here are the 4 strategies to implement. Number 1 is to do it and to stop avoiding or procrastinating, right? If there's something that you need to do, especially an income producing activity or a momentum building activity that is in alignment with your goals, right? With your big goals, do it. Do it scared. Do it uncomfortable. Do it even when you don't feel like it. For those of you who are in sales, for those of you in marketing, for those of you who you have those activities that you know you kind of like don't feel good about, just to share with you, I'm the same way. I still have to prospect. And even when I don't feel like it, what I do, just to give you guys some ideas, is I literally type in the number and then I just click send, even regardless of whether I'm ready for it or not. Because that first action, that first activity starts the ball rolling for everything else. And then you also realize it's not that bad. So number 1 strategy, just do it. The second one is delete it. There are some things that you know that you do that you should not be doing. Some of you, it's checking your emails for hours and hours and hours and just responding to that. That's something you probably don't need to do. For others, maybe it's doing laundry. Give that over to your husband or to your wife or the kids, right? Maybe it's taking out the trash. It's you're doing those sorts of things during your workday. Delete that. Get that off your calendar. If it doesn't help you move forward towards your goals, don't do it. The third is to delegate it, right? For those of you who have assistants, utilize them more, trust them more. And then the last thing is for those who have important things that they need to do, but they don't know when to do it. Devise a plan for it. This is called procrastinating on purpose, but that is only done on the things that you know need intense effort and focus. Okay? So those are the 4 time management strategies. Should you need more, feel free to go on ahead and sign up for coaching with me, because we work through all of that. Okay? And so talking through coaching, anyone here? So we're going to go ahead and start talking about coaching. But everyone so far, are we feeling good? Did we get some good things out of today's meeting so far?
Yes.
I'm seeing some nods. Great, great. Well, before we talk about coaching, before we talk about any of that, the last question I have for you is, what are you going to apply just from our short meeting today as you move forward? What's one thing you are going to do differently? What's one action you're going to be committed to doing in the next 24 hours to help you step closer to the goals that you've listed at the very beginning of today's meeting? Go ahead, open your chat box and write down the one action or the one activity that I can count on you to execute within the next 24 hours so that you're closer to one of your goals. Go on ahead and open that chat box and just type it straight in there. I'll give you 1 minute to do so. Seeing some good activities, guys. I'm seeing some great ideas. Karen, I love what you said there. I love how you said setting better boundaries. So maybe it's saying no to people. Got to do that and saying more yes to yourself. Is that kind of what I'm hearing in that? Yeah, great job. I'm seeing Cheryl. She said commit to the scheduled activities, managing your time wisely, starting your day with a positive note, block out distractions, clarify your why. I'm seeing from Weston creating an ideal schedule. So good. I'm seeing from a lot of you creating an ideal schedule. All right. How many of you here have a calendar? Anyone here have a calendar? Raise your hand if you have a calendar. Awesome. So here is what I'm going to have you do next. Grab your calendar, and I want you to set a time to accomplish the thing that you literally said you're going to do. So going ahead and take a minute to open up your calendar and to literally plug in, here is when, and then you're going to say it. I'm going to create my ideal schedule. You might want to block out an hour or 2 hours for creating an ideal schedule. Delegate more items to free up. So if you're that person, what I would recommend is you're going to take time in your calendar this week and you're going to say, this is when I'm going to focus on identifying the things I need to delegate and then delegating them out. For those of you who said things like clarify my why, well, what you're going to do is you're going to take out a block, an hour of your time sometime this week, and you're going to get clear on your why and have that date with yourself. Awesome. Dave Livingston, you're like, I'm doing this right now. Awesome job, gang. I am so proud of you guys. Thank you so much for engaging. You guys are doing so great. A photo of your why, create a collage. Gosh, this is so great, guys. All right. So did everyone have a good time so far today? Does everyone feel more energized? Do you guys feel clear? Do you guys feel clear on how you're going to hit your goals? Or do you feel clear just on your goals in general? Yeah? Good, good. That was my hope for today's meeting, was that you're going to get clear on your goals, that you're going to have better strategies moving into achieving all of them, despite all the circumstances getting thrown at you. Because here's the thing is, you guys totally can do it. You guys ready to hear a little bit about how coaching works? I won't get into all the details, but I'll just cover some of the basics. You guys want to hear a little bit about how that works and how I'm able to help my clients move forward? Okay, cool. So with coaching, it's been something I've been doing since the end of 2016, huge passion of mine. As Janelle has mentioned, I have been a coach for CEOs down to the regular old salesperson since 2016. And I work with companies like Google, Facebook, and Adobe. Don't worry, it's not in the social dilemma capacity, so it's all good. Okay, now how coaching all works, I approach every client and every coaching situation based on this diagram to your right. Number one, we identify what your goals are, and then we identify the skills that you need in order to accomplish them. We get clear on your why, which is exactly what we did on today's call of why it's so important, what lights you up, what's your vision, what's your purpose, right? So that's the second thing I focus on with my clients. And then the third thing I talk through is we talk about your systems. One of the systems we actually touched on today, which is your time management. Right? We also talk through things like your referral partnership schedule, the kind of content that you want to create and how to be timely. We go through a whole gamut of things, like a whole spectrum of things, right? So those are the three areas of which we focus on in order to accomplish your goals. Now, here's the thing though, is you can have all the skills in the world. You can be an incredible prospector, an incredible closer. You can read all the Tony Robbins books in the world or watch all the Gary Vee videos, and you can have an outstanding calendar. But if you only do these things one time, if there's no consistency in all three of these areas, you're not going to hit your goals as quickly as you can. And so my job as a coach is I hold people accountable. So you see that last ring, which is accountability. I hold people to be more consistent with being their best selves and to developing their skills, their motivation, and their systems in order to achieve their goals at a quicker basis. That's what I do. I am a consistency accountability coach. That's all I am, is I'm a consistency accountability coach. And so that's the approach. It's 2 calls a week, or sorry, 2 calls a month, one every other week, about an hour long. And then, of course, you get a customized reading list. So here are just 3 books. I mentioned one of them on today's call, which is Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, but I've got an entire library of books that it's custom designed for you. You get access to my Audible account and listen to all the books that you want. And here's some other books I recommend. How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Compound Effect, Crucial Conversations. So that's what you get if you enter into a coaching relationship with me, is book list, customized approach, 2 calls a month, and we totally just break down your goals and hit them. So that's my commitment to you. There's no year-long contract. It's month to month. Okay. So for those of you who are interested and want to learn more about coaching and see if we're a fit, I'm offering a 1-hour complimentary business action plan. And so how you do that is there's this link right here. I can copy and paste it for you all. But this is the link. You can actually just click it if you wanted to, where you can set up a time and we can meet in the next couple of weeks. So that is all I have for today's show. Janelle or Dave, I will pass it back to you if there's anything else. So with that, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Janelle?
Thank you. Thank you, Amber.
Open it up for
Thank you.
we have a few minutes, or about 4 minutes left before 2:00. But I did want to start off with a question, especially since one of your books that you recommend is about habits. And, you know, these a lot of things are easier said than done. And creating an ideal calendar and following it in theory sounds simple enough. But when you're actually doing it, how long do you think it takes the average person or somebody to really get into the habit of following these goals that they're setting for themselves?
That's a great question. So studies show it takes 21 days to build a new habit. It takes 3 days to restart a good habit that you've stopped. So in regards to time management, that's a huge thing to unpack. I know at the very beginning of every week, I try to schedule at least an hour to 2 hours where I organize my entire week. Perhaps some food for thought I offer is that your calendar and your schedule is a target, and we're not perfect, right? But our goal is to just do the next right thing right. So getting into the habit of honoring what you've put, that's actually more of a habit of honoring your word to yourself. So I hope that's a good response. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. Do we have any other questions? You can feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat. Is that a background noise or is it a question?
It's like I could hear that question. Yeah. Any other questions?
No questions, Amber, just a comment. We need to have you back every year.
Aw.
As you always remind us of the things that we forgot to do. You did a great job today, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your graciousness and patience as we meander through all of the technical stuff. I'm sure we've all been there in regards to technical, obstacles to overcome. So thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it. It is a joy to be here. For those of you who want to stay in touch with me, Janelle, do you want to forward them my contact information, or do you want me to just put it into the chat box? I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I'll forward the session. I'll email everybody the session or a link to the session with Amber's contact information after the Zoom saves onto my computer. So you'll be getting that. And yeah, and if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to send us an email. But thank you so much, Amber. We always
Thank you.
Thank you.
Revisit and get back on track, because the slow changes and like getting into bad habits, I think, are harder to see yourself going through, and then so getting this refresher and putting us back on track is so helpful.
Oh, well, thank you. Gang, the last thing I'll leave you with is I know that as we pursue the next right thing, right, you're going to get uncomfortable. You're not going to feel like it. So be aware that when you don't feel like it, do it anyways. Does that sound good? All right, last thing, smile. Everyone smile for me. I want to take a quick photo. Say hi, everybody, one more time. Hi. Great. I just wanted to keep
Thank
a
you.
photo for this because I had such a great time with you guys today. So anyways, aloha.
Aloha.
Take care.
Mahalo, Amber. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.